Hello guys, and welcome back to another faction overview guide for the Lord of the Rings Total War mod for Rome Remastered. Today we'll be going over the Dwarves of Erebor. And I think for me personally, it's been a really fun faction to play as an experience, just because it provides quite a bit of uniqueness to it. And I'll go into that into this video. So, as per usual, for the faction guides. I base all of this kind of on like 4 criteria: the initial provinces and starting location, your initial army, the economy of the faction, and then lastly just the kind of just expansion tips that I personally would suggest doing for a faction, just to kind of get your get the ball rolling, get the feet on the ground, that kind of thing for the faction. So, starting with the first one, the initial provinces and starting locations. With the Dwarves of Erebor, you actually only have one, and that's your capital with Erebor. Really, for a starting province, even though you only have one, it's okay that you only have one. Having a big, initial campaign, or, a initial big kingdom really isn't that big of a issue. Actually, personally, I enjoy having a smaller start rather than a big one, just because it's less territory you have to defend. It's, you save, initially, your economy is in the red here with the dwarves. That's very easily fixed. But, it saves a little bit of money on construction. You can, you really only need to focus on one settlement, obviously, and just a smaller area to try and defend as a whole. One thing you do need to be wary of, if at some point in your campaign, if Erebor does come under attack and you have to defend it, just be on the lookout on the battle map, which I've talked to the developing team about it, but the Erebor battle map itself, because it is a custom settlement, it's a little buggy at the moment, mainly with reforming units and getting them to move around properly within the settlement itself, which I do play on ultra unit scale, which is the game and the mod is not designed for ultra unit scale. However, a lot of it is just basic pathfinding, where the enemy, in a few battles I've done, the enemy, instead of telling them to go through the back door, they'll come through the top of the mountain and then just show up, which anyway, the mod team does know about that, and I believe they are working on that, but just something to be on the lookout for if Erebor does come under attack. So that's your initial province. The starting location of it really is amazing in terms of where it's located in the map. If you do the ally script, you got an ally with the elves and Dale, so it provides you a little bit of a buffer against Rune, and you also have the Iron Hills. And it just provides you a really good opportunity to kind of clean up some of the settlements, which I'll go, or the rebel settlements, which I'll go over in the expansion. But really, I mean, it's just a good launching point. If you want to go north, you can go north. If you want to go west and face Gundabad right away, you can definitely do that. Or if you want to go to the east here and try and beat the Iron Hills, you can do that as well. So just a really good, prime location. It's defensive. You got allies protecting you, and really the only thing you have to worry about early on is rebel settlements. So, really, really good, initial province and starting location. Moving on to the initial army that you begin with, you have Thorn up here, which is not the Thorn from the movies, because obviously he dies. But I mean, for a dwarf army, it's not necessarily the numbers, but the quality. So you do have 5 units in Thorn's army, and then also have 5 units in Erebor. But I would recommend leaving Dane actually in Erebor itself, just to provide some public order bonuses and whatnot. But I mean, really, you can do quite a bit of damage with this early army. Obviously, I would recommend starting to recruit some dwarven axemen or miners if you want to go miners. I would recommend axemen. They're just better. If you watch my unit guide, they're better. And if you can see here on the campaign map, miners take 3 turns to recruit, and axemen only take 2, and it's only a 20 upkeep cost increase. And they're just better units to have. With that being said, I mean, overall for a starting army, it's not the largest army that you start off with, but for the dwarves, it can handle the rebel settlements here. Even though they'll outnumber you technically, it's just quality versus quantity. Um, so you will be fine. Just be on the lookout, as you can see here, like the goblins have armor-piercing weapons, which as the dwarves you will have a lot of armor. So just be on the lookout for that. If if a unit starts taking too much damage, get them out, or put like 1 or 2 units against theirs, that kind of thing. You definitely won't just be able to like attack what is it, Felix Guard here, Felix Guard, leave a unit, go over here with 4 units against their like 2, 4, 8 units. That's not going to happen because they do have a bunch of armor piercing. So just be on the lookout for that. Really gotta limit your losses early on, because even though it is a great starting location and province with Erebor, it does take quite a bit of time to get back and retrain units, especially once you get further out into like or closer to Gundabad and whatnot. It's just you're starting to get a little stretched at that point. So as always, try and limit your losses, manually fight battles, and you should be fine in terms of your army. Thirdly, their economy. Dwarves really flourish in mountain regions, as you would expect. So the settlements, if you were to move into the forests or the plains, your settlements aren't going to make as much money as you can with your mountain regions. Mainly, you want to be looking for some resources like ore or minerals like this, which has that like or like this kind of icon. I don't know what color you deem that, turquoise almost even, because dwarves, as you would expect, if I go into the building browser here, they make the most money from mines. You start off with tier 4 mines. Look at the income, the trade income bonus, public order, and all of that stuff will get boosted with trading posts. If I select the trading post building here, it increases, that amount to trade and taxes and admin and whatnot will only keep increasing. You can also increase your income with the forges and the clan meeting here. Just with the clan meeting building, obviously be on the lookout for the public order bonus due to happiness, so just be on the lookout for that. Then the House of Healing also, in the passive background, increases your income because it increases your population, which, the more people you have, the more people you're being taxed, and the more money you'll make. So really, like, especially too, once you conquer a few settlements, your economy will sort itself out. If I were to tax, Erebor, we do go in the positive, if we want to, right from the get-go. So it's not like you will be hurting for money. It's talked about on the mod Discord and whatnot that you can steamroll your economy pretty early on. So I may do like an updated kind of like tooltip of the economy once they do change that in future patches, because it has been really a complaint for a lot of people that you just steamroll your economy too fast, too early, and you can recruit anything you want, you can build anything you want. But anyway, economy for the dwarves, really, it kind of leads into the expansion, but really focus on the mountain regions, because you want mines as dwarves. It's where you will really start to make tons and tons of money, is with the mines. But I've talked about it with the mod development team, and really, like, for dwarves, that's what you would expect. And so even though you will make a lot of money through mines, it's kind of it's not really a catch-22. It's just what you would expect. Like dwarves, from the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and the books, like dwarves, live in their mountains. They live in, the somewhat hills, but mostly in the mountains, mining stuff, digging deep. And so they make gobs and gobs and gobs of money from mines, and that's okay. That's where they're going to make their income. That's where their economy is focused. So I really like it. I think it's really cool. And plus, like, who doesn't like, having, like 2,100 income from gold. Also increases your trade income, which once you start trading with more people too, your economy will just skyrocket. So lastly, moving into expansion, I'll toggle the Fog of War here in case you're unfamiliar with the area. It has changed, excuse me, from when I last played a Dwarven campaign. They've added in a bunch of settlements up here, which is really good. It used to just be, I think, a settlement here in Worm Cove, and then you basically had to go west. With that being said, I really wouldn't emphasize. I think it's Fellasgard. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. For several reasons. One, it's in an open plain, so you're gonna know it's not connected to any mountains. You don't have any resources other than horses, which dwarves you're not like. Yes, you can trade horses, but that's not your main source of income. You want mountain regions. I do take Skesselhulk. I think how you say that. Just because it provides a route to get the mountain regions. Which, going east, you're kind of tossing a coin and whether or not the Iron Hills will beat you to it. Mainly, I would focus on going west because you don't want the Orcs of Gundabad to take a bunch of these settlements. You want to be the ones to control the mountains because, going back to the economy side of things, more mountain regions means more ore, means more mines, which means more money. So, my recommendation is kind of take Skesselhulk and then just go north and west. Get these, sort or whatnot, like gobbled up. Take Worm Cove. The settlements here in the mountains are really defensible. Obviously, I mean, you have to go all the way around and through here to come and get it. And it's really, like, the dwarves are really well positioned to defend their settlements just because of how the settlements are placed. So really good. They have a really good opportunity for really good expansion. Just be on the lookout for the large rebel armies. So, don't bring, 8 units to take on their 16 because most of them are goblins and they all do armor piercing. So just something to be on the lookout there. But yeah, I think I'm pretty confident in that. I've played a few campaigns as the Dwarves of Erebor and the Iron Hills. It's just, in terms of going north and west versus going east, sometimes the Iron Hill faction, as the AI, focus on these settlements. Sometimes they just push south. It just kind of depends, and you just don't want to waste your time and resources going east when you may not even get a settlement and then lose out on all of these mining settlements because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 settlements here, which obviously Dane's Halls is pretty far west, but you have 5 settlements here that all can produce mines that you could potentially lose out on if you take 20-30 turns catching these settlements, which you may not even get because the Iron Hills can easily take them. So just something to be on the lookout for, but it's the beauty in it being a video game. You can choose the path you like. That's just my personal recommendation. With that being said, it's a pretty short guide, but that is the Dwarves of Erebor faction overview guide that I have for you guys. It's pretty straightforward to the point. I mean, with only one settlement, there's just not a ton to discuss. But with that being said, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and be on the lookout for the Iron Hills faction guide, overview guide, and the Dwarves of Ered Luin guide that will also be coming out later today. So